in the group is hybrid. So another kind of structure that we've been very interested in is the idea of a hybrid structure where containers interact, rather than thinking just about a stack of containers, thinking that containers could interact with more conventional means of construction. And we have been interested, as part of also the urban scan, in the idea of how in the idea of artificial nature, in the idea that when we think about architecture, we tend to think just about architecture in a very pure way, but in reality, architecture as we see it or as we experience it, not just as we read about in books, as these added layers of complexity, and that's what we call artificial nature, that really radically transform it, and that one could see as this horrifying moments, but that we always look at instead as potentially really interesting moments. And of course they have to do with infrastructure, they have to do with heat and air conditioning, they have to do with advertisement, they have to do with with fire regulation, they have to do with many things, but it's very present and it's globally very present. So the idea is really to look into that kind of hybrid. You can get to a pretty large scale, which makes it even more mesmerizing. So we worked on projects in which the kind of like the bulk of the construction is conventional construction, but then there is the insertion of the container. We did 2 towers. One is the Chelsea Towers, which is the one you see here. It was actually an art towers, where the idea was that each floor was a gallery. The containers were storage and office for the galleries, and then a system of panels could allow galleries to close the windows for more wall space. Second one is a live workspace for artists in downtown, where again the structure is a concrete structure, and there is the insertion of these prefab elements that contain bathrooms and kitchen. The wet areas basically would be plugged in. The building is slanted because of the regulation and air rights. And then at a larger scale, a project that we did for the train station in Torino, in Italy, a competition, where again a more conventional steel structure would contain these enclosures, which are shipping containers, and then the facade would be sort of a digital billboard that could bring revenue to the city through advertisement, but also carry information. And then there is an hotel that is part of the structure that it develops vertically with different functions, parking, retail, offices, and hotel. And I conclude, as far as the presentation of project goes, with a project that we did in China, in Beijing, that has similar parameters to some of the developments that are going on here in Korea, and similar and different. Project is called Sanlitun South. We actually developed 2 projects which are pretty close to one another. So Sanlitun South is the one that you see in the yellow bubble, and Sanlitun North is right here. They are along this axis called Sanlitun Loop in Beijing. It's fairly central, and it's a street that is very lively at night, with a very nice pedestrian traffic. But the interesting thing about the site, which makes it different from what's going on here in Korea, is that this is the embassy area, and at the time when we did the project in 2005-06, the zoning was such that you couldn't build more than 4 stories. So the developers that got this site had to really deal with density. They couldn't just plop towers on them. So we really have to work with this idea of urban density, which we, of course, we're very interested in engaging with, and we work with in particular with the idea of the hutong, revisiting the idea of the hutong, the narrow alley with the layers of shopping and life and pedestrian traffic. What makes it similar to the PAP scenario is that we entered one of those moments where we went to visit the site, and there are these housing buildings on the site that were in medium shape, not in terrible shape, not in great shape. The time we went, 3 weeks after, half of it was down, and then 2 months after, it was completely gone, deleted, actually sunken down to 3 levels below for parking for it. So there are 3 levels of underground parking. So this idea of intervening, urban intervention, where a large swath of the city is completely taken down, to then, add new. But again, I think what was interesting for us instead was the idea of working with density and rethinking through a more contemporary way of looking at it, the idea of density. So the design explores the idea of the hybrid construction where containers become these special moments. They are shops, they carry the again, branding and identity of the shops. The construction is extremely simple. The pictures that you see are the pictures of the built project, although the project is already modified, which is another interesting thing about construction in Asia, that is so fast that you actually do it and redo it within the course of the time, where in Europe you don't even think about it. So to conclude, container plus, right? The lecture was supposed to be called everything you want to know about shipping containers and more. So what's the more? So what's the more is, on one end, for us, the more is what we're working on, which is the idea of really expanding. Our practice is focused on a lot of industrial objects. So, these are some of the objects that we're looking at. So for us, the more is also moving outside of containers, but really thinking about large-scale industrial objects and systems that we can bring into architecture and re-employ, and by doing that also force us to rethink about what these objects and systems are, and requalify the perception that we have. Also, by doing that, rethinking about the city as a container, and in that sense, the city of a container of multiple conditions. This is New York City. This is Tokyo. You wouldn't think of it, right? Looking just at those images. But the idea that there are these multiple layers within a city is a very, very interesting aspect, and something that really needs to be looked at. And it has to do with temporality, it has to do with different social conditions, but we believe that in that there is something that is very valuable and that needs to be carefully considered. Also the idea of, also as a suggestion to some of the discussion that was carried on today, I think we feel very strongly that the city is, that a strategy to intervene in the city is also a strategy of juxtaposition and layering rather than erasure and deleting. So the idea that the city builds on itself and the marks on the territory, that we can mark the territory, but marking doesn't necessarily mean deleting what was there before. It can actually be an add-on. And the interaction between the different marks can create something very interesting. The idea of embracing our present and looking at how things that can be scary potentially instead is extremely poetic. and suggestive. And then, you know, 3 crazy images that I'm putting at the end just to say that even within a system that is so codified and so precisely thought and so you know, geometrically defined as the one of the containers, there we have a kind of unexpected moment, which is, on one end, you can look at that as something really scary. Obviously, if we think about what's happening here, it is very scary, but you can also look at that as the potential. So the idea that even within this kind of system, there is an inherent potential to something that is unexpected and something that can open.